Well, good morning, everybody. Tori here from Overlook Horizon. I'm awake. Hopefully you're with me. And we're ready to finally conclude this Polaris Dawn mission, or as I've started calling it on Twitter, the Polaris Pre-Dawn mission, because every major milestone has been at 3 o'clock in the morning. Why is every milestone at 3 o'clock in the morning? I'm tired. I don't know if I can handle this, but we're here. We're going to push through, and we'll see it. We'll see it to the end here. So we are about just over an hour away from Splashdown right now. SpaceX is live. They're broadcasting. We'll switch over to them once we have some activity going on. But right now, things are looking pretty good. They're on track. We'll talk about what's going to happen here, and we'll probably try to go through it pretty quickly because things are going to start happening here soon. So we're about an hour and 2 minutes away from actual splashdown. Oh, there's our crew right there. We'll switch over and we'll let you see our crew inside the capsule. Maybe even hide that a little bit so you can see some of the crew faces here. Well, a crew member face. Can't really see anybody else, but yeah. So we're just over an hour until we get to splashdown here. So the deorbit sequence, however, is going to be starting here in about a little less than 5 minutes. So deorbit sequence starts with claw separation. That's the little umbilical claw that goes from the trunk to the capsule, connects around the heat shield so that they don't damage the heat shield or anything like that. So the claw will separate, and then the trunk, the bottom section of the capsule here. So we got the capsule up on top, and we got the trunk on the bottom. This trunk section does not come back to, well, it does come back to Earth, but it separates from the capsule. It's not meant to be recoverable. It's supposed to burn up in the atmosphere. However, SpaceX had a little trouble with that recently, and it turns out the trunk is not really completely burning up in the atmosphere like it's supposed to. So a lot of times it actually makes it back, and hopefully splashes down in the ocean, not on land or near population, although that's been a little bit of an issue for SpaceX lately. So anyways, we're just about 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes or 2 minutes away from trunk jettison right now. And so that'll head out, and then they will do the they're going to do the deorbit burn. Deorbit. And then they're on their way back. So that deorbit burn happens at about 51 minutes on the clock, T-minus 51 minutes, and that burn will last, well, so here's the other thing. My timeline there is for a regular ISS Crew Dragon return. I'm not we may have a slightly different return here where the timeline might not completely line up, but I'm expecting it to be very similar. So it's a rough estimate of what we're expecting to see here today. But anyway, so usually the deorbit burn is about 11 minutes long. Then after the deorbit burn, the nose cone will be closed, and the capsule will flip around, get into entry attitude, and back home they come. We probably won't see it go through. So remember, we got a lot of cool views of Starship via Starlink. The Starlink demonstration for Crew Dragon. The Starlink was actually in the trunk of the Dragon capsule. And remember, we're jettisoning the trunk here in about 2 minutes. So that'll be happening here soon. There is a TDRS handover that's coming up in 2 minutes. Those are the communication satellites. So we're going to kind of lose communications for, a couple of seconds while they hand over between TDRS satellites. And that's happening almost at the exact same time as this claw separation and trunk jettison. Well, actually, pretty much right at the same time. So we can see right now, here's a tracking map of where Dragon is right now. Why can't I can't drag it? I don't know. Won't let me move the map. Refresh. There, now it'll let me move the map. So there's where our Dragon is right now. It's going to make about a half a lap around the Earth here with the deorbit burn, and you can see the trajectory that it's going to be approaching Florida here from the southwest. So we're heading to the southwest coast of Florida as well. For a little more, a little closer pick, you can see the orange line of the Dragon trajectory there and the yellow pin of where it's going to be landing off of Tortuga, Florida here. And this is kind of interesting because, here's a map of all the Dragon landing sites so far. I'm going to be honest on this one. I didn't even know that landing down here by Tortuga was actually an option. I've always known all these other options in the Gulf of Mexico and also in the Atlantic, on the Atlantic coast here. But this area down here, we're landing down here. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't know this was an option. So this will be the first time the Dragon has landed down here off the coast of Tortuga, Florida. So that'll be kind of interesting as well. All right, let's turn up SpaceX because we're getting pretty close to claw separation and trunk jettison. I'm going to look at your comments. We'll say hello to you, but I want to listen in because that trunk jettison should be happening here any second.
Thrusters are, but just a new mobility aid that they were able to use during the spacewalk. Just a lot of cool firsts on this mission this week.
Indeed. It has been a long week, that is for sure. It seemed like every day there was action happening, and we're super excited that they're going to be coming back soon and share more of their experience with us when they're on the ground. Once again, this view is looking inside of Dragon Resilience. It is making its making its way back to Earth. We can see some minor movements there with the straps and
still floating around.
Yeah, so they're making their way back to Earth again. They are going to be splashing down off the coast of Florida. We anticipate that splashdown around 3:36 a.m. Eastern Time. There are a couple of events that are still coming up. We're going to close the nose cone. That will help protect the forward hatch during re-entry. And it also means that we will not be using the forward bulkhead Draco thrusters any longer. Basically, this deorbit burn is the last time that those will be utilized.
Deorbit.
Yeah, and we are expecting that deorbit burn any minute now. And again, that's going to help put Dragon on the trajectory towards the splashdown zone.
So one thing they did mention here, just to keep in mind, is right now the nose cone is still open. This confuses a lot of people. A lot of times people call that the hatch. They say, oh, the hatch is open. You got to close the... How can you come back to Earth with the hatch open? It's not the hatch. The hatch is inside the nose cone, but the hatch is not open. The nose cone is open, and that's because a couple reasons. But the main reason is inside that nose cone is actually the forward Draco thrusters, and that's what they will use to do the deorbit burn.
It's gonna deorbit.
And so it's actually going. Let's say the Dragon's traveling this way like this. It's actually going nose first right now. It's going to use those Draco thrusters that are underneath the nose cone. That's why the nose cone's got to be open. Is those Draco thrusters right there. It's going to fire those to slow it down. And then after those Draco thrusters fire, then they will close the nose cone to prepare for re-entry. They will flip around, whoop, and come in heat shield first. So yeah, it's not the hatch that's open. It is the nose cone. We won't see it. I don't know. Well, maybe they'll show it to us. It would be kind of cool if they would show it to us. There was a camera inside the nose cone there. That's how we saw all the EVA spacewalk activity. It was from the camera that was there. And they did show the apogee raising burn. Oh, there we go. They are showing it. Look at that. That's pretty cool. So there's a view from the nose cone right now. We're pretty much waiting. So we should have had trunk jettison at this point. What? Look at that. 1.21 gigawatts. That's kind of cool.
Great, Scott. I love that.
I love to see how they add their own personality, like just right there in the middle. That 1.21 gigawatts, obviously referring to Back to the Future.
Not 1.21. Come on, Kate Tice. 1.21 gigawatts. Yeah, look at this. This is a pretty cool view. I wonder if they'll show the actual Draco thrusters firing. That would be kind of cool. I don't know. I don't recall seeing that live before. Maybe they have shown it live before, but that's a pretty cool view right there. And just to give you some context here, real quick, here's where it is right now. We're off the west coast of Australia.
A person hanging out there. Those views were just so incredible.
So crew's all strapped in. They are in their suits. That is just kind of a precautionary thing in case there was any sort of rapid depressurization event. You can see the map on their screens right now. The map is actually like upside down, which is interesting. You can see Florida pointing up on the screen. That's kind of interesting. That would hurt my brain like that. When I fly my airplane, I always, some people fly track up. I can't do that. I have to fly north up when I'm looking at my map. Only for the airplane. When I drive, I fly track up. But when I fly north up. That's because, like, when you're in a car, like, you kind of maybe have an idea of which way is north, but really you're following your path. You need to know which way to go on the roads. But when you're flying, you really know which way is north, south, east, and west and which way you're traveling. So, I don't know. It makes more sense in my head to have north up on the map. This, however, the south up view on the map that they have on their center screen there, that makes zero sense to me, and that hurts my brain. Somebody asked me a question here. John D. said, Tori, do you work for SpaceX? You know a lot. Well, I will take that as a compliment that I know a lot. Thank you very much. I've been doing this for a long time, so I try to keep myself informed. But no, I do not work for SpaceX. Don't get that confused because I have a SpaceX shirt on. Just a big fan of SpaceX. I like what SpaceX has going on. I even ordered a new Polaris Dawn t-shirt from the SpaceX shop, and I ordered the zero-G indicator asteroid from the SpaceX shop. Yeah, there, we're seeing the coast of Australia there right now. So there it is. If we look at the Dragon map, look at, they're about to fly over the west coast of Australia. There's the live Dragon tracking map, and then we switch back over. Oh, they changed their views on us.
They got a nice round view of the globe, and now you can see that they're much closer to Earth with just a very small slice of.
So right now we are coming up on, well, that deorbit. So normally that deorbit burn would be happening like right now. They have not started it yet. But it should be happening here soon. But there you go. There's the west coast of Australia, the southwest coast specifically. It's coming. This deorbit burn should be coming up momentarily. Normally for an ISS re-entry, the deorbit burn would be happening right now.
It's going to deorbit.
But looks like it has not started yet. Let's see. Mike. One of my favorite commenters, just because I like saying Mike. Good morning, Tori. Why don't they use the same painting or material on Starship for descent? It works. Why use the black shields? So I think you're talking about why does Starship not use the same material as the SpaceX capsule? I think is what you're saying. And I mean, essentially, it's the same type of material. It's a blade of heat shield, but it's Starship has a much bigger area to cover because it's doing that whole belly entry first. So much bigger area on Starship that they have to protect. They're also, one of the big goals of Starship is to make it rapidly reusable. So if you have to take off all the heat shield, you got to re-inspect the entire heat shield or take off every single heat shield tile and reapply them. And I mean, any of those sort of things can extend your rapid reusability timeline and make it not so rapid anymore. So one of the big things that SpaceX is they're trying to redesign Starship completely from the ground up to make it rapidly reusable. And that's everything from the vehicle itself, the engines, the heat shields. They want the entire turnaround time to be as short as possible as they get, when they want a vehicle to come back and be able to send it back up within.
Performance nominal. Nose cone closure initiated.
Oh, there we go.
We show the same and tracking.
So it sounds like the deorbit burn has completed and the nose cone is closing.
A successful and nominal deorbit burn. So we're now going to see the nose cone begin its closing process.
Oh, we
It
can
takes
see
a
it.
couple minutes for this to fully complete.
Is this the nose
as
cone
the-
closing, or are we
I
just
think
seeing
can
the
see some
capsule
shadows moving
reorienting?
here, which means that we're about to lose this gorgeous view.
This is an incredible view, and as we mentioned earlier, the
that the
vehicle
moon?
is doing a slew, so
The
it is
bottom left?
maneuvering to orient that heat shield a little bit more towards the Earth, and that helps prepare us for
Yeah.
reentry.
And we can see that nose cone coming into view now.
Oh,
there
there
in
it
the
is.
top left corner. Once it is all
So
the
yeah,
way
it looks like the
down,
nose cone is closing, but also the capsule is reorienting itself for reentry to go heat shield first. So the deorbit burn has completed, and
we will not be using the
now they're coming back.
bulkhead Draco
It's kind of cool that we're actually seeing the nose cone close.
Honestly, this view is just so cool.
Oops.
See everything that's happening.
Wrong
You
button.
can still see Earth. You've
I
got the
wanted
Dragon maneuvering.
this one.
You've got the nose cone closing, and you get to see the Skywalker mobility aid all in one.
You can actually see. I think that's one of their cameras there on the left side. Right. Oh, there you go. You can see a couple of the cameras. There's two cameras in view. So we got flooded. I posted some of those spacewalk EVA videos online, and it always seems to happen on Facebook. But on Facebook, we got flooded with flat earthers and people that say it's fake and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, "Who was holding the camera?" Here you go, everybody. There's the camera that was viewing it. Nobody's holding the camera. It's mounted to the nose cone. There's two of them right there.
For re-entry of the vehicle.
We can see the cameras right there.
Safe, intact with the vehicle. Again, we are going to close this and lock this.
It's actually kind of cool that we're seeing the entire closing sequence. I don't remember ever seeing this before.
Atmosphere. Now, we don't necessarily need it for Dragon, but we do want to protect that Skywalker during re-entry, which we don't typically have or haven't had before on Dragon missions. So this nose cone will actually keep that Skywalker mobility aid pretty safe as well.
Indeed. Now, while all this has been going on, the vehicle has initiated the nitrox suit purge. This helps to keep our crew members cool and comfortable during re-entry, which once again, we expect that to occur here in a few minutes.
One thing they mentioned that
Or a little bit less than
might have just breezed by is they said that they don't need the nose cone to be closed for Dragon. So if you notice, they do the deorbit burn first, and then they close the nose cone. Obviously, they need those Draco thrusters to do the deorbit burn. But if for some reason the nose cone malfunctioned and it did not close, Dragon could still re-enter normally.
inside the Dragon capsule and the thermal
They've simulated those things
of the capsule.
to ensure that that's
Important to keep
something that they can still do in case there was some sort of malfunction.
anymore, so it is on internal power, but it's enough power to keep everything cool inside the cabin, because as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere, it can get up to about 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty hot. We've heard some of the crew members that have flown on Dragon that sometimes they can even see some of the sparks through the window.
Here's a question from Shunt Sam 2.
Basically,
Do the guys, I'm assuming you're talking about the astronauts because there are girls on there, do the guys actively control anything at any time during the whole process, or is everything fully automated? No, generally the astronauts aren't manually flying right now. They're monitoring systems. They would have the capability to intervene if they needed to, but all these processes right now are automated, computer controlled. So really, they're just kind of monitoring what's happening, making sure that the events are happening on time, and just kind of keep an eye on it and everything. So yeah, nobody's really manually flying this right now, but they do have that capability
of the way
if they needed to.
everything that's happening with the burns, with the nose cone closing inside of Dragon, they'll be able to hear some different sounds. So being able to follow along with the procedures is really important, so that they can connect the dots with the sound to the action that is happening outside of the capsule.
At this point in time, we're just standing by to hear confirmation of the nose cone's closure. Once we get that information, that basically completes the first half of our deorbit process.
So yeah, our timeline is a little bit different than
Inside
an
Dragon
ISS
Resilience.
mission return here. So again, I said at the beginning, the timeline on the left is what normally happens during a space station Crew Dragon return. This is obviously a little bit different. The deorbit burn was actually much shorter than what we normally see for the space station. And we're already at nose cone closed, which is usually at 37 minutes. So we're almost caught up to where we normally are. After this, the rest, like re-entry attitude and comm blackouts and things like that, those should be all about the same time period. But either way, the big important thing is the T-minus countdown. We're still 42 minutes away from splashdown. That is accurate. We're getting down to, 0 will be splashdown, plus or minus a couple of seconds.
Up in Connecticut. These drogue parachutes do quite a bit of work, and actually, if we didn't have drogue parachutes, we would have to have more main parachutes, and they would have to be twice as big in order to effectively slow the capsule down. Basically, the drogue parachutes deploy around 18,000 feet when the vehicle is going about 350 miles per hour, and the vehicle, thanks to the drogues and the heat shield and really just the continued friction of the Earth's atmosphere, helps slow it down to 119 miles per hour when the mains deploy at about 6,500 feet. So
All right, question from Kathy over on the Facebook.
the Dragon capsule.
Said Kathy wants to know temperature for those inside. I'm assuming what you're asking, I can't put the Facebook comments on the screen. I can only do that for YouTube comments, so sorry, I can't put you up on the screen here. But we'll read it out and answer it anyways. But I assume what you're asking is like what the temperature is inside the capsule. The capsule does have environmental control systems, so generally inside the capsule, it's pretty comfortable. It's like 70 degrees inside the capsule, just like it would be in your house, which is like 21 Celsius inside the capsule. So it's relatively comfortable inside.
Nose cone secure for entry.
Copy that, SpaceX.
So it is relatively comfortable inside the capsule. And then, of course, they have their suits on for re-entry. That is just a precautionary measure in case there was any sort of rapid decompression that happened during the re-entry process. They're already suited up and ready to go so that they can stay safe and survive the re-entry process. They don't technically need the suits for re-entry unless something goes wrong. However, if something goes wrong, that can happen really fast and you don't have enough time to put your suit on. Sadly, we discovered that on a Soyuz flight. Soyuz astronauts had I think it was Soyuz 11, had a rapid decompression or depressurization event, and the astronaut in simulation, it only took the astronauts, when they had tested it, it only took them like 2 or 3 minutes to go, if they could close a certain valve and it would, manually close it and they should be fine. However, they discovered that that was too long, and the usable consciousness of the astronauts was so short that they could not complete that activity. And sadly, those astronauts perished on the Soyuz, pretty sure it was Soyuz 11 mission. So yeah, we ever since
and it's been a pretty,
I think the Challenger days,
and those were just a couple of events.
astronauts on U.S. capsules now have they wear pressure suits
Experiments so
for launch and re-entry. So anyways, inside where I was going back to Kathy's question about temperature, the suits also have environmental controls as well. So they stay nice and cool. They don't overheat in there. They're not cold inside. They do have environmental control systems inside the suit as well.
here at SpaceX. So just a lot of exciting stuff.
Edward wants to know time to repressurize after hatch closure. Well, hatch closure from the spacewalk, that was like 2 days ago. So they're not doing any of that today. The hatch closure, the hatch was only open for maybe, it was open for 20 minutes-ish or so. And I can't remember exactly how long it took to repressurize. We were here live for it, but I want to say it took maybe like half an hour to repressurize. I don't know. Maybe somebody can go back and look at my live stream that we did on Thursday and figure out how long it actually took. But my memory would say it was about half an hour. But again, that all happened on Thursday. Nothing today. No, there's no hatch closure today. What we just saw, the nose cone close, that's not the hatch. Nose cone is not the hatch. That's just the nose cone is the protective covering that goes over the top of the Skywalker apparatus and the Super Draco thrusters. They leave that open because the Super Draco thrusters in the nose is actually what does the deorbit burn. And they have to do that deorbit burn, then they can close the nose cone, and then they're coming back. Press the wrong button. I wanted this one.
It's gonna deorberate.
So there was a question from Edward over on Facebook as well. Framrick, thanks for joining us. One of our awesome moderators says, send in a coffee your way. Thank you very much. This is such a weird time. Like, I don't actually want a coffee because I want to try to go back to sleep after this, hopefully. I don't know. It's weird. I slept for a couple hours and I got up and then we're going to do this. And then I think I'm going to try to go back to sleep. And I don't know. Then my day tomorrow is going to be all messed up. But thank you anyways. Let's see. Everybody keep Red Scorpion awake. If he falls asleep, give him a little tap. Another one of our awesome moderators here joining us this morning. Framrick says, it's like having young kids again. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Feels a little bit like that. You're waking up and then you got to try to go back to sleep. All right, let's see what else we can cover here. Let me, for those that are just joining us here or maybe joined in a little bit late, they're showing, actually, this is kind of a cool view, but this is the first violin solo in space, which is kind of cool. That happened yesterday, I think, or Friday. Can't remember whether it was yesterday or Friday. But that was pretty awesome. Framrick actually has a good question while we're talking about this, because I had this question too on about that. It said, Framrick said that violin was amazing. How did they protect it during the EVA? And what I asked this question actually on Twitter, because for those that don't know, all through college, I played the viola. Kind of a weird thing. Maybe you don't know about me, but yeah, I played in a symphony orchestra all through college. I wasn't, super good. I'm no prodigy or anything, but yeah, I mean, all through grade 4 through college, I played the viola. I played in symphony orchestras, and yeah, I ruined a viola once by it cracked because I stored it under poor temperature and humidity and things like that. So I had the same question, like, how did they protect that? Because that happened. Violin solo happened after the EVA, where they depressurized the entire capsule. And actually, one of my Twitter followers commented that there's a violin case out there called a BAM case, and there's probably others out there as well. But a BAM case is sealed and actually keeps the instrument at sea level pressure. And it's meant for symphonies use it when they travel on airplanes and things like that, if they're traveling far away. I never did that, so I never really had to have one of those cases. But yeah, so they have pressure cases that can protect the instrument from temperature, humidity, and pressure changes. And that's what we suspect that they used, or that Sarah Gillis used to protect her violin, because that's kind of crazy that it survived like that. But it was likely in that a pressure case, like a BAM case. Maybe it was a BAM case. Maybe it wasn't. We don't know exactly what it was, but yeah, something like that. I had the same question, so it's kind of crazy. All right, let's see. Yeah, a lot of people like this. Maria says, Maria Eugenia, amazing violin interpretation by Sarah Gillis. Cynthia Carter says the viola rocks. I know that's a little bit of an obscure thing, but yes, I was a viola player. To be honest, I have not played like formally. I've messed around a little bit, but I have not played formally in like an orchestra or a symphony of any sort in, I don't know, we're going on like 15 years now, I think, since the last time I like played formally. So it probably wouldn't be pretty these days. I've messed around and, you know, showed my kids and things like that I could play the viola, but I still have it. It's still here. And occasionally I break it out, but these days I mostly play guitar these days. That's easier for me to just grab and play. Also play the drums for anybody that doesn't. I have a drum set. I have guitars. I have a mandolin. I have a ukulele. I have acoustic guitars. I got bass guitar. I have drum set. What else do I got? I got a piano. I play the piano. So there you go. There's all my musical talents for those that don't know.
Let's talk a little bit about the heat shield in greater detail. Dragon's primary heat shield is composed of...
You see, Eugene says, you seem to be a man of varying hobbies. You know, for anybody that knows me in my personal life, they'll probably laugh at this because I have probably way too many hobbies, which is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because I have a lot of fun with a lot of hobbies, but it's a curse because I can never allocate enough time to all the things that I want to do. So, yeah, it can be a problem. JJ says he's a one-man band. I have, on occasion, recorded songs, and they may or may not be on YouTube, but I'm just not going to tell you where. So they might be out there.
It's another class of thermal protection, which is lighter weight than Pika and protects the underlying composite structure during re-entry to ensure the structural capabilities are maintained.
Yeah, while Dragon will experience...
Okay, so I was going to say, just to, as we're getting ready, so we're getting into entry attitude here, or actually they're pretty much in entry attitude right now, but we'll be coming up on communications blackout here in about 18 minutes or so. So just to give us an idea here, we'll go check in on our live Dragon tracking map. And I can't move it around again, which is weird, so we'll just refresh. And there we go. We can now see that we are east of New Zealand right now. Following this trajectory, now they'll be heading northeast here. Now that they've kind of hit the southernmost point, they'll be heading northeast, and they'll do their re-entry right there. And they're going to be heading towards the southwest coast of Florida. So our targeted landing zone is right here. To give us we'll get a little zoomed in view, but here's one zoomed in view to give you an idea of the trajectory and the landing site here off of Tortuga, Florida. And then we'll take a look at our Dragon landing map. So interestingly, this is the first time that Dragon will have landed there. All the purple pins are all the previous Dragon landings. And I said at the beginning, I'm going to be honest, I didn't know landing down here was an option. So that's kind of interesting that they're able to land near Dry Tortugas down in this region here. So be a new landing spot for Dragon. We've not landed a Dragon there yet. So here's our live map here. As soon as I navigate away from it, I can't scroll anymore. So we'll just keep this right there. Let's see. Somebody threw a comment here that I was... There you go. Shun Sam said, I see the WB-57 is circling around the Splashdown area. For those that don't know, the WB-57 is one of NASA's high-altitude reconnaissance or observation planes. That's a good thing that we can show here. So why don't I pull that up and we'll take a look at it too. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, so Let's put this on screen here. So that everybody can see it. So here it looks like we've got 2 aircraft in the area. So here's the WB-57 right there, November 926 November Alpha. That is a NASA WB-57 higher. It's not really a high altitude. I mean, right now it's flying at 18,000 feet. So it's not really super high, but flying at 18,000 feet, that's probably where we will get our first images from for the re-entry process. They got infrared cameras on board. They will be able to track the capsule as it's coming in and doing its re-entry. So we'll get our first images from the ground. It's not really the ground, it's from the air, but from that WB-57. And then this guy over here, NASA helicopter. This looks like it's an Airbus helicopter. I don't know if this will be... I'm not sure if this is just an observation helicopter or if this is the actual crew transport helicopter, because remember, we get the crew goes on board a recovery ship, and then they typically helicopter the crew back to Florida. So this might be a crew helicopter, but it's kind of early. It doesn't really need to be there right now. But they might want it there quickly in case there was some sort of medical emergency that they could helicopter back in a hurry. So I suppose that could be possible. But yeah, there's the two vehicles in the air there supporting the mission. And then I think TP Seeker asked if there were any ships in the area. And that's a good question, something that I don't have pulled up either. Any ships in the area, says TP Seeker. Well, let's pull up marine traffic, and we'll see if we can see any ships in the area. Let's see. Where am I? You can tell what I'm looking at here. Oh, there we go. All right, so you'll have to forgive the ads that are on here. This is courtesy of Marine Traffic. I don't have a paid subscription to Marine Traffic, so you get ads. But let's see. We're landing in this area here. I think we're in this general area. That's a fishing boat. I don't know what that is. Pleasure craft there. Hopefully we don't have... They've already mentioned it a little bit. So, Dry Tortuga's out here. Yeah, I don't even see the recovery ship in the area. If anybody can find it or key me into where it is specifically. Just checking out some of these vehicles that are in the area. I don't see any of our recovery ships in the area. At least none that are transmitting right now. That could be on purpose because if you recall, back on the Demo 2 mission with Bob and Doug, on landing, they were greeted by a whole bunch of recreational boaters. And that wasn't good. So they might be obscuring their location on purpose to keep people away. So, here's the crew. This is earlier. This is not right now. This is not live.
During flight, and then we'll do it post-flight. And what this requires is us to...
This is about some of the science experiments that they were doing on board. Because remember, they did some really cool stuff, but they also did a lot of science experiments, too.
All the way through the nasal passage and back of the throat to take these different images. And then post-flight, we'll be able to assess what happened to the airway passage as that fluid shifts. This is a Tempest Pro. also called our ambulance in a box. So, you know, if you believe in SpaceX's vision of making life multiplanetary, that we're going to have thousands of starships in space someday, tens of thousands of people, we're on Mars and we're exploring our solar system, it's pretty cool. But those are some pretty long journeys, and hospitals aren't very close by. So we have to be able to bring diagnostic tools into space with us and then be able to beam that information back home to the flight surgeons. So just yesterday, we hooked up all sorts of cables to this, so blood pressure, SpO2, respiration, EKG leads, and basically we're able to capture a number of vital signs and test it out. And then today, we actually did a full-blown medical simulation of what could be a very likely medical situation that could develop after an EVA, and then was able to beam a lot of this information home via Starlink to the flight surgeons in mission control. So I really am excited about it because it's this kind of technology that's going to be needed, you know, to kind of further humankind's ambitions to explore among the stars.
We've been collecting data kind of every day, looking at the changes in our vision over time in space. We also have an experiment from CU Boulder that we did shortly after arriving on orbit, where you actually put a contact lens into your eye to monitor the pressure change over time. And there's a picture of Jared. He has the contact lens in his eye that's sending pressure data over 12, 24 hours to a sensor. But he really looked like a rogue space pirate with his eye patch kind of covering it, so he didn't have to have some vision changes from that lens. But it was quite a look up here for the space pirate.
Well, that's kind of cool. There's a couple of the science experiments that they were doing on board as well. So remember, it was a cool EVA. You know, of course, we get a lot of comments on any of the videos I posted that, it's just a billionaire going to space. And well, I mean, yes, he is a billionaire. He does get to go to space and pay for it. And like, that's really cool. But also, they're doing a bunch of science experiments too, which is pretty neat. So there is some science and health research actually happening as well. Here's a little bit from the EVA. This is the helmet cam from Jared as he emerged from the hatch and did the stand-up EVA there, holding on to the Skywalker handholds. They were doing some mobility tests, trying to check to see, you know, how the brand new SpaceX EVA suit was actually holding up, and you know what the mobility was like when they were actually in the vacuum of space. So that was pretty cool. That was crazy to see.
But because Crew Dragon doesn't have an airlock, the entire cabin was actually depressurized, and all 4 astronauts on board participated in.
TP Seeker says, "Oh wow, yeah. What's the long-term effect on eyes?" Yeah, so there is a I'm gonna get it wrong. What's the
SpaceX copies for crew entry prep.
All right, good news there. That was Jared letting us know that their tablets are secured and the visors are down, which then creates that complete system for the spacesuit for them to basically be ready for the more dynamic parts of the reentry phase.
Yeah, they were just saying that their visors are down, iPads are stowed, so they're pretty much ready for reentry here. They're coming back. They're on a ballistic trajectory. The deorbit burn has already happened.
Deorberate.
And so what we were just saying, so they had that, Jared had that contact lens in that was measuring eye pressure. There's a medical condition called spaceflight associated neuroocular syndrome, which can really affect your vision in space. And actually, I've seen reports that maybe Sunny Williams is experiencing this a little bit right now on Starliner. But yeah, it is something that astronauts run into with long duration space flights, where their vision can deteriorate while they're in space. Yeah, that was part of the reason they were doing those contact lens experiments, is trying to measure the pressure and trying to understand this more and see what they can do, especially if we're going to have more and more long duration space flights. What can they do to reduce the risk of spaceflight associated neuroocular syndrome? And Framrick said Scott Kelly did suffer some issues, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't remember specifically who has or has not run into that. But yeah, it is an issue. It's a common issue for long duration space flight. Marco wants to know, off topic, but will Starliner astronauts need any training for returning on Dragon? I think they've already had training. So actually, Sonny Williams has done a lot of training on Dragon. I'm not sure how much training Butch has done, but I believe I believe the astronauts have trained on both vehicles, especially.
5 minutes until predicted comm blackout. See you on the other side.
Copy that, SpaceX. We're tracking the same. Talk to you soon.
So they're getting ready for comm blackout, which will be at 12 minutes. But yeah, the astronauts probably, might do a little bit of recurrent training to get ready to come back on Dragon. But I believe they've already encountered some training on Dragon, so it's not completely foreign to them.
To get through the portion of passing through the atmosphere, re-entering the atmosphere, coming back down to Earth. And ironically, today is actually the 3-year anniversary. 3 years ago today, on September 15th, 2021, the Inspiration 4 mission actually launched. And so we got to hear some thoughts. We don't get to hear the Polaris Dawn crew. They haven't gone through this re-entry period. So we got to hear some thoughts from the Inspiration 4 crew on their thoughts of this re-entry period.
All right, we'll turn them down just a little bit about re-entry here. So they're chatting it up. You can listen to this on the SpaceX stream if you want to hear that. But just to give you an idea, we're 16 minutes away from Splashdown. So we're coming up pretty quickly here now. They're about to hit entry interface. Give us an idea on our live Dragon tracker of where they are and where they're headed. So right now they're southwest of Central America there. Heading to the northeast to the southwest coast of Florida off of Dry Tortuga. Right down here. So we're heading that direction. Here's a little zoomed in view of the trajectory and the yellow landing pin right there. And also a list or a view of all of our Dragon splashdown sites, all the purple pins. And you notice down here by Tortuga, there's no pin, because the Dragon's never landed there before. So this is a new landing site for us, which is kind of cool. Right down here in the southwest coast of Florida, should be a new landing site here. So that's where they're heading right now. You can see we're getting pretty close. 15 minutes away. We'll get communication blackout is going to happen at about 12 minutes. That lasts. I don't have an event on here of when they come out of blackout, but that usually lasts like 4 minutes or so, 5 minutes or so, while they're in that blackout period, and then usually somewhere around like the 7-minute mark, if I recall correctly, is when they come out of comm blackout. We'll see the drogue parachutes come out about 4 minutes prior to landing, and then the main parachutes are about 3 minutes prior to landing, and then they'll splash down and land. Now remember, it is nighttime. It's very aware that it's nighttime. It's 3 o'clock in the morning here on the east coast of the U.S., which is where they are landing. So we're likely going to see infrared camera views, which means it's probably going to be black and white. A lot of people were very confused during Starliner. Well, how come they're taking black and white video? See these people yelling at me in the comments section. It's all black and white. What are they trying to hide? It's nighttime, folks. It's nighttime. That's why it's infrared video. If they took color video, you just see black because it's nighttime. Let's see. Buzzaturn had a good question. Could they use Starlink to avoid blackout during re-entry like they do on Starship? I mean, in theory, it's possible, but you have to keep in mind a couple of things. Is one, the Dragon capsule is much, much smaller. So when Dragon comes in, I don't have like just a capsule. I have the trunk here, but comes in, heat shield first, and the plasma kind of streams around the capsule and comes to a point around the top there. When Starship re-entered, hold on. when our Starship re-entered, it comes in. Let's see, we got to get our big view for this. When Starship re-enters, it has a huge what am I trying to say? Surface area, and creates this huge void behind the capsule or behind the vehicle as it comes into the atmosphere like this. So a lot of the plasma is not really getting in the way, which allows Starlink to communicate back up into space as this comes into the atmosphere this way. The Dragon capsule, not so much. It's not going to create quite as big of a void as the Starship does. So in theory, they could probably use Starlink. I mean, they did use Starlink on this mission, but it was in the trunk, so they've already jettisoned it. So they don't have Starlink anymore. But in theory, if you put a Starlink antenna like on the nose of it, maybe you could get it. But I have a feeling that you'd probably still run into some interference from the plasma that goes around the capsule because of the shape of the capsule and how much smaller it is in general. There's my answer on that.
It's a period in which a couple minutes before it ends, we'll hear the core call out, the core being the crew operations and resources engineer. And that person is the voice to the crew, and they're sitting right there in that room on your screen. That is Mission Control here at SpaceX in
How come we're in this
California.
view? I want.
And a couple minutes before the blackout period ends, we'll start to hear the core hail the Dragon capsule, because sometimes they get through it quicker and we're able to communicate.
I thought we had switched over. How about this view?
So yeah,
This view. That's where I was trying to go.
Basically, no vehicle telemetry is received by Mission Control or the recovery team, and we're unable to command the vehicle. So, as a reminder, though, the Dragon capsule is programmed to and designed to fly itself. So, as we heard from the Inspiration 4 crew earlier, it is a period of great anticipation, but coming out on the other side is a moment of a lot of joy.
Yeah, it's super exciting. We are expected to be in the blackout period at this moment. We did hear the core call that out about 5 minutes ago. So we should be in that blackout period. Again, it should last about 6-7 minutes. And what's expected to come next is going to be, once we get through that blackout period, we will confirm we have comms with the crew once again, and then we will be expecting the drogue parachutes to deploy. Again, that helps slow the vehicle down. They've been flying very fast in space at 17,500 miles per hour. Those drogues are going to slow down the vehicle to about 350 miles per hour, and then the 4 main parachutes will deploy and slow the vehicle down as it's making its way back down to Earth, and should touch down at around 15, 16 miles per hour. So these chutes are very, very important to help keep the vehicle slowly moving towards the Earth, scrubbing that velocity as they've been moving very quickly. But they should have a very light touchdown back on Earth in the ocean.
Okay, so a couple things going on right now. So we're in communication blackout right now. I did see Michael asked, why don't we have a tracking station in the Pacific Ocean so we can maintain video throughout? It's not. So the communication blackout we have right now is not for lack of stations. The communication blackout that we have right now is actually because of the plasma that surrounds the vehicle during re-entry. It's coming in so fast, it's screaming, running into the atmosphere. That atmosphere can't get out of the way fast enough, so it compresses and it heats up and it turns into a plasma and surrounds the entire vehicle in plasma. And unfortunately, you can't get radio signals through that thick plasma that surrounds the vehicle. So it's not for a lack of ground stations. It's the fact that no radio communications can get through the plasma that's surrounding the capsule during that communications blackout. So we have to wait until the vehicle slows down enough and that plasma thins out, and then radio communications can come back through it again, and then we will be out of communication blackout. So that's what it's not lack of stations, it's the fact that it's surrounded by plasma. And then again, just we mentioned about about how Starship worked and how Starship was able to manage that. Starship, much bigger cross section, able to create like a void behind it where the plasma doesn't actually fully encapsulate it. It encapsulates the bottom and the sides, but not the back. And so they were able to get Starlink communications from the back out to space. Instead of communicating down with the ground, they communicated back to space. And they were able to do that with Starship. But Crew Dragon doesn't have that capability in the first place. Even if they did, again, it's a smaller vehicle. Oh, there we go. We got a view.
You can see on your screen is the first ground view of the Dragon
So
capsule.
that's the
making its way
WB-57 airplane that's tracking it right there.
Earth's atmosphere.
Oh, there's a
I
color
love this
view right
view.
there.
It's so fun to watch this. I can only imagine what it would be like to watch it with our own eyes. This thermal view in particular is really cool because you can see the trail behind it.
Oh,
Now-
that is so awesome. There's 4 humans inside of that capsule right now.
Now, once again, we are in the anticipated communications blackout period. Basically, there is an envelope of ionized air around the spacecraft, and it blocks radio signals from reaching Dragon. So this basically plasma field around it prohibits us from commanding the vehicle or from communicating with the crew. So this anticipated blackout period lasts about 7 minutes, so we should be coming out of it here in about the next minute or so. We will probably start to hear the SpaceX core begin to reach out to the Dragon capsule, just trying to hail them, or we might even hear from the Polaris Dawn crew first.
Yeah, so right about, we should come out of blackout right around 5
That's
minutes.
an
Ooh, look at that
incredible
view.
view
That's a
from
cool
the
view.
recovery ship stationed.
So this is the recovery ship. It's coming like straight at the recovery ship right now. This is like a head-on view as the Dragon comes straight at the recovery ship.
Is just the Polaris Dawn crew.
These are
coming
some
back to
awesome
Earth.
views.
Wow, that is
Look at that. Look at that view from the WB-57 airplane right there. That looks cool, even being in color like that.
And we expect this blackout period to end in about.
And you can really see, look,
another
that, look at
view
this view.
of
Oh, this is like a drone view.
Com check.
So they've started comm checks. Oh,
I can have you loud and clear. Help me, SpaceX.
Loud and clear, Jared. Expect automated chute deployment.
incredible views, incredible comms. We have regained communications with the Polaris Dawn crew. This is a drone circling the recovery vessel. And that little white dot, I should start, the big white dot on the right, obviously the moon, the little white dot there in the center of your screen is the Dragon Resilience vehicle making its way, its final few kilometers back down to planet Earth after spending 5 days in orbit.
so you can see the trail much
Wow,
smaller
just
now as it has
some
slowed
epic
down
views
quite a
tonight.
bit.
You can hear the crowd here in Hawthorne getting excited. We've confirmed that we have comms
Now there's our
with
crew.
the crew.
Dragon SpaceX. GPS converged. Expect nominal altitude for drogue chute deploy.
Copy that, SpaceX. We show the same in tracking.
And the crew is still traveling very quickly right now as they're coming back through the Earth's atmosphere. But as you heard, the drogue chutes should be deploying here shortly, and that's going to slow them down significantly.
Yeah, we expect those to deploy in about 90 seconds. And as we heard in those comms, it's triggered by GPS. So the Dragon capsule using that GPS will automatically know exactly when to deploy it, and that happens around 40 kilometers.
So usually this happens somewhere around the 4-minute mark, but it sounds like maybe it'll be a little bit after that because she said 90 seconds. So that would put it closer to like the 3-minute
Once
mark.
the drogue
So
parachutes deploy, about a minute after that, we'll see the main parachutes.
And it's pretty incredible that we only
We can see
Oh, seat rotation
now
right there.
underway. This helps put the crew in a more ergonomic position in anticipation of
Brace for
splashdown.
drogue window.
Copy, we're bracing.
should see those chutes deploy here shortly.
this is so wild. Like they're just free falling here.
can see the
You
crew
can see them
bracing.
braced for the
As
drogues to
instructed.
come out.
For the change in velocity.
Waiting for drogue deploy any second here.
Standing by for deployment of the drogue parachutes. These will help bring the vehicle down from about 350 miles per hour when they deploy down to about 119 miles per hour when the main parachutes deploy.
Well, there's
And
the
we can
drogues.
see that the drogue chutes have successfully deployed. It's a great thermal image. And that view is from the actual basin where those drogue parachutes are located.
Dragon SpaceX visual on 2 healthy drogues.
Copy that, SpaceX. We show the same.
These drogue parachutes help to stabilize the Dragon capsule and get it into the right orientation before those main parachutes pop out, as well as providing that initial deceleration.
This is such a great thermal shot of the Dragon capsule. You can see it turning a little bit with the drogue
Here
parachutes.
come the mains.
And there are the 4 main chutes now deployed. They're
currently
slowly open
reefed.
up to their full deployment here in just a few seconds.
There we go. They're opening up fully here. Well, they got one that's a little slow to open up, but looks like it's coming.
Incredible views of the Polaris Dawn crew returning to Earth after 5 days in Earth's
That one
orbit.
is not.
The crowd here
There it
at
goes.
Mission
Now it's fully
Control
deployed.
in Hawthorne cheering.
Dragon SpaceX visual on 4 mains and descent rate nominal.
It's a beautiful sight.
there we
to
go.
Copy
see.
that, SpaceX. We show the same. 1,000.
Copy 1,000.
Beautiful sight to see those 4 healthy main parachutes.
So great.
Now,
And-
in about 2 minutes, we expect our splashdown to occur.
And you may hear the crew and the Corps talking. They're communicating about their altitude as they make their way back down to Earth.
We should start.
800.
Yeah, there it is. So we should start to hear and
Copy 8.
are hearing
800 feet.
our commander, Jared Isaacman, call out the altitude as
Or is that
they
meters?
descend
I don't know what
to
they're-
the ocean's surface. We can see the Polaris
There's our
Dawn
crew.
nestled in their seats there on the left-hand side of your screen as they anticipate their
600.
splashdown.
Copy 6.
And you can see the difference in velocity. This is a lot gentler than just a few minutes ago. Dragon is coming back down to Earth.
Absolutely. These main parachutes deploy at about 119 miles per hour and help slow the Dragon capsule down to about 15 miles per hour when it makes contact with the ocean.
You can also see that the capsule is now
400.
I feel like they're going
the
to land
capsule is
before
now
my timer hits
stabilized.
0.
It's no longer spinning like we saw it with the drogue parachutes.
Slowing him down for a nice soft touchdown here shortly.
$200. We're bracing.
Copy 200 embraced.
200 brace for
splashdown.
That will be the
splashdown.
final call we hear from Jared until contact with the ocean surface.
Yeah, my timer's pretty close, actually. I think my timer's going to be almost right on the money here.
Standing by for a splashdown of the Polaris Dawn crew.
Boom, there it is.
And there you can see.
Splashdown!
SpaceX copies. We see splash.
As you can see on your screen, and by the cheers behind us, the Polaris Dawn crew has successfully splashed down.
Welcome back to planet Earth, Polaris Dawn.
SpaceX recovery team now moving into place to begin the process of strapping the Dragon capsule up with the necessary rigging in order to lift it onto the recovery vessel.
There we go. Successful splashdown. Hey, while everybody's here with the splashdown, don't forget Polaris Dawn is a really cool mission, but it's also a fundraiser for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. So consider making a donation to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital.
SpaceX copies code 1.
I believe I have a fundraiser attached to the YouTube live stream here. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can make a donation to St. Jude's in honor of a successful mission, a successful splashdown. They have safely returned back to Earth. This has been pretty cool.
Capsule that you see there on your screen, back here, home on Earth.
So
that call out that we heard earlier, confirmation of what I had said a little bit prior to in terms of that stable configuration. That code 1 call out is the reflection of the crew's reporting of that landing position. We can see the Dragon capsule bobbing in the distance. Like Jesse said, the recovery team is a little ways away from the splashdown location, obviously to ensure their safety, as well as the safety of the Polaris Dawn crew. So it takes a little while for the large recovery vessel to make its way over to the Dragon capsule, but there are a couple of fast boats that we will likely see come into screen sooner than later, and those fast boats carry...
SpaceX Dragon, we're stable 1.
Those fast boats carry...
Copy, stable 1.
Those fast boats carry the recovery team members that will scoop up the parachutes from the water, excuse me, as well as perform the initial safety checks to make sure that there are no hypergolic fuel vapors or any basically potentially harmful vapors remaining around the Dragon capsule following the deorbit sequence. So we'll see a crew with some personal protective equipment wearing that personal protective equipment around the capsule, performing those safety checks before allowing anyone to get too close to the capsule.
Yeah, and I love that we have those fast boats. You know, instead of waiting for the recovery vessel to make it with crew members on board there, we have the fast boats to get there while the recovery vessel is making its way towards the capsule, and we can do all that work in advance. And they are very fast, as you can see.
SpaceX, on behalf of the entire team of SpaceX, welcome home. We have pulled go for recovery personnel to approach. Expect personnel alongside in approximately 1 minute.
Copy that, SpaceX, and Polaris Dawn, we are mission complete. Thanks for all the big help pulling this mission together.
Now, we did see a jet ski pass by. That jet ski has a couple recovery
here's a little drone shot.
Folks on board. They've got the go to do those gas and hazardous checks to make sure that Dragon is safe for
see the lights inside the capsule too, which is kind of cool.
And this view here is actually from a drone hovering near the Dragon capsule, so it gives you a little bit better perspective of how close the fast boats are. Like I mentioned before, some of them are scouring the water, looking for the parachutes that were released after Dragon splashed down. We'll try to retrieve those. And another fast boat will approach and begin those safety checks for any hypergolic vapors. And yeah, we can see them getting... Oh, actually, you can kind of see one of those parachutes.
Look at that view with the moon. That is so cool looking.
And then the moon in the distance. What a great view.
Some great lighting from the moon at this light, this night splashdown tonight.
This is so cool looking. Like you got the clear skies with the moon. Plus it's in the dark. We got this drone shot. You can see like the windows on the Dragon that are still lit up with the capsule and the crew inside. Like that's pretty cool looking. You got the spotlights shining on the parachutes there.
Almost looks like the eyes of Dragon.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
This is so crazy. This is, I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, it's happened,
So
like they've done it a bunch of times now, but
to the Dragon
it's still
capsule.
just awesome to watch.
That is the crew that will begin. Yeah, you can see with the stick there, that is basically a hypergolic detection device.
You can see the guy, he has a gas mask on.
Yeah, they will attach to the Dragon capsule to get a little closer. And we can see that they have respirators on. This helps ensure that if there are any lingering vapors, that they will not be exposed to those.
Hypergolic fuels those are nasty. You don't want anything, you don't want to be breathing those in. So
Recovery team
trying to make sure that it's actually safe for them to start, because the recovery crew is going to actually like climb on the outside of it, and so they want to make sure that there's no residual hypergolics from the thrusters leaking out or anything like that.
But there will actually be someone that jumps into the water and begins climbing on Dragon capsule in order to secure the straps that are necessary.
Look at the
Dragon
lights
capsule
turning the
out
water
of
blue
water.
too. That
There's a
looks
cool
cool.
shot there, because you can actually see the basin where the main parachutes were located. That's where here's a thermal view now. But yeah, that lower, larger basin is where the main parachutes were located.
Man, SpaceX, I don't know, we say this all the time, but SpaceX does such a good job of their video coverage. Like, we got drone shots, we got thermal shots, and everything's coming to us live. Like, I don't know, this is what makes it so exciting. Like, look at how cool this looks with the lights in the water, making the water blue, and like, it looks so cool.
Which is what that thing is below the Dragon capsule there on the bottom.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the future watching stuff like this, even though this has happened like I don't know, Crew Dragon splashdowns have happened so many times at this point, but it still feels futuristic.
Actually, I take that back. I don't think it's lights on the boats. I think it's lights with some of...
Dragon SpaceX, hypergol sweeps, and unfired ordnance checks nominal. Rigging in progress, approximately 5 minutes until capsule lift. Stand by for PMC.
Copy that. 5 minutes for capsule lift, and glad all the checkouts are good.
All right, great news there, letting us know, and we can see that the crew members have basically taken off their respirators, allows them to work a little bit more efficiently. Also heard that the crew will have their...
Dragon SpaceX for PMC.
PMC standing for Private Medical Conference, so this is an opportunity to check in with...
SpaceX.
I would like to try and do the PMC in 10 minutes, 10 minutes, looking for crew to be okay with that wait.
Crew's good. We'll call you if we need to pull it in, but right now 10 minutes seems good.
Copy.
All right, so that PMC Private Medical Conference, that's just an opportunity for the crew to chat with the flight surgeon, check in, make sure everybody's feeling good. So it sounds like the crew is on board to have that occur in 10 minutes. Meanwhile, the recovery teams here on your screen scurrying. Oh, there, our first view of the individual on top of the capsule.
Look at that.
Yeah, I have said this in
I want
many
that job.
Splashdown webcasts before. Not enough money in the world to convince me to do that job. I have so much admiration and respect for the people that can. Just doing that in dark water would be terrifying to me. And I love how efficient and well-trained all of these individuals are. We can see it in action here. They function as a really strong unit altogether.
Oh, that's funny. Kate Tice, I think, is completely the opposite of my thinking. She says there's not enough money in the world that that they could pay her to do that job. I'm like, I would do that job for free. Yeah. You don't even have to pay me. I will volunteer to do that job. I'm in. Just sign me up. You don't even have to pay me.
Yeah,
I want that job of climbing on the Dragon when it comes back.
Keys, they probably got some pretty clear water, even though it is nighttime. I wouldn't mind, jumping on top of the capsule and trying to rig up the Dragon capsule there. It looks like a pretty fun job, actually.
Yeah, I think nighttime would be a hard no. Daytime, maybe.
Dragon SpaceX for PMC.
Go SpaceX.
All right, we're actually ready to do a PMC now, so I'm going to be privatizing Dragon to ground. You'll next hear from the ship surgeon.
So we won't hear this. We won't hear these communications here. Get a little private conversation with the flight surgeon just to make sure they're okay. A lot of times they don't show us the inside of the capsule at this point in case anybody threw up or anything. Hopefully none of that happens, but it can happen. It could happen for sure, especially like you're in space, your body's all feeling weird coming back to gravity, and now you're bobbing around in the water. Although looks like the seas are pretty calm, so not a whole lot of bobbing around. TP Seeker wants to know what type of dismount would you do if I was the guy on the capsule, right? So
cool
if he's talking about the guy on the capsule rigs it all up, and then right before they hoist it onto the ship, he jumps off into the water. I'm a cannonball guy myself. I think TP Seeker would do a jackknife. I'm a classic cannonball guy. I think I just have to every time. I think I'd be doing the cannonball. I think that's the right answer. I'm sorry. The cannonball is the way to go.
Availability, Dragon recovery opportunities and options, because as we saw trying to launch this mission, when we were. Oh, just kidding. Fake Quindar. When we were trying to.
Natsu wants to know, how would they do this part for Mars? Robots? Well, so.
SpaceX Dragon to ground is no longer privatized.
Copy that, SpaceX.
Yeah, so if we're landing on Mars or coming back to Earth from Mars for some reason, right now Starship is the go-to method that would land on land, like on Mars. It would land on land. We don't have to do any of this. They would just, they would get out of the vehicle like they did the lunar module on the moon. And same thing when they come back to Earth. It's supposed to land on land. And that's the idea. Obviously can't do a splashdown at Mars. That would gonna be hard pressed to find a splashdown landing site on Mars.
And the recovery team and the weather team worked really hard.
Chill Zone would do a backflip.
Look how calm the waters are. Wow.
It was perfect.
I'd have to work on backflip. Could be cool, but I'd have to work. I don't think I can do a backflip right now. I'd have to practice that. I feel like I could do it if I practice, but actually that might be my 25-year-old self speaking. Maybe I can't do a backflip anymore. That might be behind me.
Other missions, we've gone to the International Space Station where we can kind of wait out weather if we need to. For a mission like the Free Flyer, like you said, that's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
We don't have as much cargo space to keep, food and supplies much longer than the planned duration of the mission. Obviously, there's some.
Gregorius, one of our awesome moderators, said those green neon horns are probably for visibility. I bet you're right. Back when I did night diving, we would carry something similar, but it strobed instead. Oh, that's pretty cool. I've never been scuba diving. Definitely never been night scuba diving. I've never been day scuba diving, but yeah, I imagine that's probably what those little horns are for. Here's our recovery ship here. You can see the helicopter landing pad as well as the Dragon hoist in the back. So that ship is steaming towards the Crew Dragon. Right now they need to they got to secure all the parachutes, which they probably have pretty much completed at this point, and then probably got another 15 minutes before they hoist it out of the water. So we still got some time here.
They can get into hopefully get some sleep maybe.
I did make a note.
Yeah, there you go. Framrick says another hobby that you can take up. I would love to go scuba diving. I've actually wanted to learn how to scuba dive. Just pesky thing called time. I don't have any of that.
5 p.m. Eastern time. So it's right now almost 1 a.m. Pacific time. So yeah, they've been awake for a while, and they had quite a day, honestly. And I'm sure that they are most excited to see their families again, and also probably pretty excited to get a good night's sleep.
In a bed.
Yeah.
Instead of floating around.
Yeah. Now, if you've recently joined us, unfortunately, you missed quite a bit of action already, but we still have.
Graham wants to know, can you speak to why they don't egress the crew before pulling the capsule out?
Of the Dragon capsule.
So if you remember, like the Apollo days, they would pull the crew. The crew would get out in the water, and then they would be hoisted up via helicopter, and then the helicopter would take them to U.S. Navy ship, and then yeah, that's how we would recover astronauts in the Apollo days after splashing down. Now the astronauts stay in the capsule. They hoist the entire capsule up onto the recovery ship, and then the astronauts get out on the recovery ship. And I couldn't tell you the exact reason, but the main one of the main reasons is for comfort. It's a whole lot more comfortable for the crew to just kind of chill in the capsule, right? Remember, you come back to Earth under gravity, like your body's all askew. I mean, especially for a 5-day mission, maybe not that much, but for space station crew members that have been on the International Space Station for 6 months, they come back to Earth and, you know, they haven't been using their muscles for 6 months. And all of a sudden, you know, if you're asking them to climb out of the capsule onto a boat that's bobbing around in the water and then try to get themselves on the, like, that can be a lot of work. And like their body is really not ready for that, right? They typically, astronauts, when they come back from the space station, they're not even allowed to drive for a little while after they've come home, because they want their muscles to build back up and get ready. So it's a lot more comfortable for the crew to just stay in the capsule, hang out there. They hoist it up onto the ship, and then the recovery personnel can kind of, you know, carry them out almost. I mean, they kind of get out on their own accord, but they can really help them out. It's minimal effort to get out of the capsule. They put them right onto a stretcher, basically, and then they can just wheel into a recovery room, and they can kind of just chill and relax, and they're good to go. So yeah, that's one of the big reasons. Hey, Graham sent over a super chat. Thank you very much, Graham. Love the Space Lobster Nation. Welcome home, Polaris Dawn. Thank you, Graham. I appreciate the super chat there. Do I not have, as much as I appreciate the super chat, do I not have the fundraiser attached to this live event? Usually you can't super chat me if I have the fundraiser attached. Maybe I don't have the fundraiser attached to this one. Oh, I don't. Well, can I attach it after the fact? What happens if I do this? I've never edited my live stream while I'm live streaming. I think I just attached the fundraiser to the YouTube live stream. I guess I meant to do that beforehand. And maybe now you have to refresh the live stream. But yeah, now if I refresh the page, I see it there now. So I must not have had the fundraiser attached. It's attached now. Apologies for not having that attached, but thank you, Graham. Thanks for the super chat. I meant for that to be a fundraiser, but
gets to go and have that experience.
And during all of
we got it sorted out now.
She was supporting them, and all of them were supporting our mission. So Sarah was.
All right, let's see what else we can cover here. Graham says, that was my last $10. Sorry. Oh, jeez. I'm sorry, Graham. I should have had the fundraiser enabled ahead of time. There you go. Elliot Wade with a $5 donation to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Thank you, Elliot. Thanks for donating to St. Jude's. it's an amazing cause, and I meant to have that enabled the whole time. Somebody should have told. Why did you tell me it wasn't on there? Let's see. Do they need to undergo decompression? No, not really, because like while they're in, so they would have had to undergo the process when they depressurize the vehicle. They did have to repressurize their vehicles and make sure they could equalize, because they were in a pure oxygen environment that was low PSI. They had to purge and do a pre-breathe and get all the nitrogen out of their system. They had to do all that for the EVA or the spacewalk. But for coming back to Earth, they don't really have to do all that because the cabin is a regular atmospheric pressure cabin, and they're pretty much acclimated to that right away. So yeah, not a big deal to during this part. They don't have to do anything special to get themselves ready. Aside from the fact that, you know, their muscles are going to have to adjust, and now that they're back in gravity again. But yeah, nothing special for decompression sickness or anything like that. We got another anonymous $20 donation to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Thank you, Anonymous. Much appreciated. Thank you for that donation to St. Jude's. That is again, it's an awesome cause. You know, a lot of people are like, it's just a billionaire going to space, it is true, but he is respectable in the sense that he's made it a fundraiser for St. Jude's. So he knows he has the money to do all this. It brings a lot of attention. He can do a lot of cool things, and he takes that and directs all that attention to a good, worthy cause for generating funds for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Is it true that after they arrive, they will have to learn to walk again? I mean, that's probably a little bit of a dramatic way of putting it. For a 5-day mission like this one, like the Polaris Dawn one, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, their muscles are not that deteriorated over 5 days that they're not going to be able to walk. Like, they'll probably within a couple of hours be reacclimated to gravity, and they'll be fine. For a 6-month mission to the International Space Station, it does take them a while to get used to gravity again. They don't have to learn to walk again. It's not like they forgot how to walk. It's just that their muscles are very weak, and they need to, I mean, they do a lot of stuff on the space station to exercise and keep them strong and things like that, but their muscles are just not used to supporting their body weight. So it takes them a little bit of time. And I think they're not allowed to drive for like the first couple of days after they get back. You know, it takes them a little bit of time just to get used to gravity again. But I mean, saying that they have to learn to walk again, I don't know if I would characterize it that way. That's kind of a bit of a dramatic way of saying it. They just have to, they need time to get used to gravity again, would be a more accurate way to say that. Hey, Graham Cracker donated $10 to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Is Graham Cracker the same as Graham? What's that? We got 2 accounts, Graham? Thank you very much, Graham. Appreciate it. My wife hacked my account and found another $10. Well, thank you for donating to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital there. Another awesome donation. Thomas wants to know, do you need to be a member to donate? I don't think so. I don't think you need to be a member. You should be able to just donate to the fundraiser. You might have to refresh the stream, though, because apparently I forgot to attach the fundraiser. I just attached it a couple of minutes ago, so you don't see it. You might have to leave and come right back. Make sure you do the comeback part. That's the important. Come back to us. But if you leave and come back, you should see the fundraiser right next to the live chat for the YouTube live stream. It's not on Facebook or X or Twitch or Instagram, where we're streaming on those platforms at the same time, but only the YouTube one, which is the primary stream. That's where the fundraiser is. Alan said he liked it and he sunscribed. Thanks for the stream. Well, thank you for liking. Thank you for clicking that like button for me and sunscribing. I'm not sure what sunscribing is, but I imagine it's very similar to subscribing. Typo. I get it. No big deal. But thank you very much. Thanks for joining us here on this. So we're waiting to see the crew here now. And then Tori. Oh, we already saw that one. And then Tori's going to bed. Technoblaze says, or you could just hit F5. Yeah, the only reason I didn't say just hit F5, if you're watching on a web version, you could just hit F5. The only reason I didn't say that is because a lot of people just watch on their phones, and you're going to have a hard time finding the F5 key on your phone. So depending on what platform you're watching, you may have to refresh the page. You could do that with F5 if you're watching in a web browser, on a computer. If you're on your phone watching through the YouTube app or something, you probably have to leave the stream and come back. There we go. Thomas Brewer with a $20 donation to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Thank you, Thomas. Thanks for donating to that amazing cause. We've generated, I think the hard part of the Polaris Dawn mission is the fact that every single major milestone has been in the middle of the night, so it's tough to get a big live crowd. A lot of people watch the replay afterwards when they wake up in the morning, but so our donations were not quite as high as they were for Inspiration 4. Inspiration 4, we raised $10,000 just on this channel alone for St. Jude's. This one, we're a couple $100, but again, it's middle of the night, so it's kind of tough to. We're not getting thousands of people here watching all at once when it's the middle of the night over here in the U.S.
All right, we can see the recovery team continuing to pull the Dragon capsule a little bit closer. There's still one.
So we're getting close. There's our guy hanging out on the capsule. He's gonna connect it to the hoist. That's the job that I want. I want that guy's job. I want to be the guy that rides on the outside of the Dragon.
Basically at the top of what is the side hatch, there's another bucket, and that's where the drogue parachutes are located.
Dragon SpaceX, rigging complete, approximately 5 minutes until capsule lift.
Copy that. 5 minutes till capsule lift.
And again, the core communicating to the crew as they can't see outside of the capsule, so there's a lot of movements.
All right, we're pretty close to Dragon hoist here. Maybe update our timeline just a tiny bit here. Because I think it's a little bit ambitious.
We'll see the recovery team individual.
Let's see. That's cargo splashdown. We want crew Dragon splashdown.
Basically put around the circumference of the Dragon capsule.
Turn that music down.
That individual will climb up a little bit higher on the capsule and then jump off into the dark water. And here's a cool view from above that helicopter pad. That is where the helicopter will land and take the 4 crew members back to land. So about 5 minutes, well, at this point, 4 minutes until the capsule is lifted out of the water.
All right, let's see. So, this is just the alphabet here. Says, I wonder if the water ingress damages the rockets underneath the capsule. Good question.
Dragon SpaceX, brace for capsule lift.
No, there we go. The guy that just yeets off the side.
Warm water.
I love that.
Yeah, you know what? Sea creatures love warm water too, in my head.
They're not going to hurt you.
We can see the Dragon capsule now coming out of the water.
I should have left my timeline alone. It looks like it was accurate.
Loved heat shield at the bottom of the Dragon resilience vehicle. Dragon now completely out of the water and will be lowered onto that cradle there. once the Dragon capsule is lowered, we will.
So anyways, I was answering Alphabet's question here. I wonder if the water ingress damages the rockets underneath the capsule. So it's a good question, but actually there are no rockets underneath. So the underneath is just the heat shield. No rockets there. If you remember the deorbit burn that gets performed as it's coming back to Earth.
Deorberate.
The deorbit burn is actually from the forward Draco thrusters, which are underneath the nose cone there. So it actually goes nose first, does the deorbit burn, then it flips around and enters the atmosphere heat shield first. So there's no rockets underneath the capsule there. There are some, you can kind of see, if I hide your comment here, you can kind of see some of the thruster pods. But they've got some pretty good clearance from the water there. You know, there could potentially be a little bit of water ingress into there, but yeah, not. I mean, it's pretty high up on the vehicle, so I don't think it's very significant. Any water that gets in there.
And we'll remove all the rigging from the capsule that will then translate that capsule and move it forward to a platform.
Dragon SpaceX, welcome aboard the recovery vessel. Recovery personnel are completing final checks. Stand by for translation to the egress platform.
Copy that, SpaceX. Anyway.
All right, great news.
All right, so we should be
It looks like
about
the estimation for lift was we completed it 2 minutes early. So like I said, it's a pretty efficient operation. The recovery team.
Yeah, we're probably about 10 minutes away from hatch opening here, so we're pretty close.
Also in rehearsals and training procedures of their own.
Yeah, there you go. Framrick says they'll do a thorough desalt and clean anyways. Yes, they do kind of check everything over anyways.
Have donned some PPE once again.
There are the Super Dracos, right? So that should be sealed up. Yeah, there are the Super Draco engines, but even so, the Super Draco right here is a Super Draco pod for the Super Draco engines. But you can see even the Super Dracos are not. They're not really at the bottom of the capsule, right? So they still got clearance. They actually have more clearance than right. We have a thruster pod here. This is probably the lowest item. Is this thruster pod that's right here? But the Super Draco engines are actually up here. The engines are way up here.
Once they install all of the necessary Draco plugs, they will continue with a final...
Why don't they just pick it up with a helicopter and whiz them back to shore? Surely it would be quicker.
SpaceX, looking for your okay to come on board with cameras.
Oh, maybe we'll get a camera view.
SpaceX Dragon, you're welcome aboard with the cams.
All right, we might get an interior view. But just answering this helicopter question, I mean,
SpaceX copies.
I don't know if that really would be quicker to pick them up with a helicopter, right? I mean, they're only in the water. I mean, it's been 34 minutes. I mean, I don't think by the time they, like, first of all, the majority of that time was just rigging it up so that you could lift it. So at this point, this is the part where they just finished rigging it up. So now you'd be attaching it to a helicopter, and then you're going to have to go back to shore. I mean, we're 10 minutes away from hatch, probably less than 10 minutes away from hatch opening right now. And so I don't think it would be quicker to put them, just attach the whole thing to a helicopter and bring it back to shore. I think this is actually the fastest way to get the crew out of the capsule.
Close up those thrusters and perform some additional fume checks before allowing anyone to...
Satuma says, is it reusable? Yes, it is reusable. They do a little bit of a refurbishment process, but it is entirely reusable. There's our crew right there. You can see smiling faces. Visors are up. Everybody's kind of just chilling, waiting for the recovery teams to open that hatch up. So it's in what's called the Dragon's Nest on the recovery ship. That Dragon's Nest is going to slide the whole capsule forward towards the front of the ship. Not all the way to the front of the ship, but
just in case.
It's going to slide it forward towards the egress platform. And then they will open the hatch and get the crew out here. in probably another 5 to 10 minutes here.
Very important. They have been out in space for 5 days. They don't have gravity, forcing their muscles to be working the way that we utilize them here on Earth. So it is important that when they do take their first steps, that we have some of the crew and the medical team there to support them in case they need any help.
Absolutely.
Good question from Daniel. Why do the workers wear respiratory protection? That's primarily for the hypergolic fuels that are on board. The monomethylhydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide. Those are hypergolic fuels, meaning that when there's no ignition needed, as soon as they touch, they ignite, and that's what is used in the thrusters that are on board there. So there is fuel inside this capsule, specifically hypergolic fuels. And so those hypergolics are very, very toxic to humans. Nasty, nasty stuff. And sometimes, because all those thrusters get used during reentry, there's the possibility of leaks. There's the possibility of some residuals. So really, it's a precaution. They're checking, and they have hypergolic detectors. They're trying to see if there's anything leaking or anything like that. And it's just a precautionary measure until they're sure that none of those hypergolics are leaking out of the vehicle, because that can be a big, big health hazard and nasty, nasty stuff to humans.
A cool view here, just looking from behind the seats. On your left-hand side is Commander Jared Isaacman, and your right-hand side is our pilot, Kid Poteet.
You can kind of get a feel.
You can get a view kind of what they'd be looking at as they're coming in to land. So you can kind of see that center screen is kind of the status. That's their map as they're coming in. So you can actually see like the parachutes out, and you can see the mission clock, the T, what are they at? T plus. Well, I'm curious what that, it says T plus. I'm not sure what, I'm guessing that's counting down to their landing, because it says, their clock says T plus 36. Trying to tell, 36:30 right there. I'm not sure what it said, but mine's at T plus 38, I think. So that's probably what it is. That's their countdown to splashdown that they're looking at. When do they plan to go back to the moon? Our next opportunity to go back to the moon is going to be Artemis 2. That'll be a NASA mission, not a SpaceX mission, but Artemis 2 will do a flyby of the moon with humans. That's currently slated for 2025. And then Artemis 3 will actually land on the moon. That's the plan. So we're getting pretty close. Artemis program is, had some, it's been slow going, but we're getting close. There you go. You can see the Dragon sliding forward on the Dragon nest towards the egress platform. You can see the egress platform there. And you can see they do still have those respirators on. And that is, again, to make sure, they want to make sure that there are no hypergolics leaking out before they let the crew out. They're going to really check and make sure that everything is good and safe, and there's no toxic chemicals that are leaking out of the vehicle before they get this crew out of here.
This is very exciting. We're just a few minutes away. There's still some more procedures that they have to go through in order to open that hatch, but just a few minutes away from hatch opening.
Let's see. Missing Seattle says we're getting back to where we were in 1969, 1970. Yeah, to some extent, yes. I don't know, when people say this, like, a lot of times, like, flat earthers will say this, but I don't think that's what Missing Seattle is doing here. But one thing that I like to point out when people talk about this is that, yes, we're getting to the point where we can go back and start doing some of the things that we did in 1969, 1970, but we're doing it in a much better way this time. So like in the 60s, getting to the Apollo era, like we took a lot of risk, and we were really flying a pretty primitive vehicle to the moon. And like safety wise, not a lot of redundancies. And, you know, we just kind of crossed our fingers and we're like, well, we hope this will work. And turns out it did. But yeah, this time going back to the moon, like it's so much safer. There's so much more computer power involved and communications and redundancies and not to mention like costs we're trying to bring down and all that kind of stuff. But also we, you know, the general.
All right, good news there.
Copy that, SpaceX. We're standing by.
There you go. You can see the respirators are off now, so they verified that no toxic chemicals.
Their respirators.
Oh, there we go. There's hatch opening. That was really quick.
You can see
Really fast how open how quickly they open that hatch.
I just heard cheering from a distant part of the building. I have a feeling that came from the Dragon teams at their computers. That was pretty cool. That is the
Flight surgeon?
doing initial medical checks, making sure that everybody is feeling good. I have a feeling by his smiling face, he's getting 4 smiling faces in return.
Everybody's feeling good. Lots of smiles. That's good.
Polaris Dawn crew has now officially taken their first breath of Earth air in the last 5 days.
We can see the recovery team in the background, basically putting up some protective fixtures around the side hatch in order to ensure that as the crew egresses and gets assisted as they come out of the capsule, that they don't hurt the side hatch seals or themselves. Obviously want to protect the individuals as well.
Merlin wants to know, what is he explaining? So I don't. They've never really let us in on this conversation exactly, but I could speculate on what he's saying. So he's likely telling them like what they're about to experience. Remember, they're still strapped in, so you know, the tendency, it would probably be to unstrap and just jump right up and be like, I'm back, I'm home. And so he's probably telling them like, this, you know, it's normal if you feel this, it's normal if you feel that, this might happen, this is what your body might do as we get you up, we're going to put you on this, we're going to do this, or, you know, I want you to be careful when you're moving because your legs might feel this. So that's likely what he's going through and checking with them, you know, asking them how they're feeling, what they're, and also asking them how they're feeling, but also telling them what they're probably going to feel here in a minute when they get them unstrapped and start to pull them out. Because they're in a pretty stable position right now. They're just kind of sitting there strapped in, and they're about to start moving them in gravity again. And so probably telling them what they're about to experience. There we are. Everybody's
our first live view.
Very happy, it looks like.
Side hatch open, fist pumps, thumbs up. I'm sure if we had audio, there would be some cheers as well.
I'm sure the
Gotta
crew
get some
is
photos.
so excited to be home. Mission complete, like they said, after 5 days of some historic.
There's John. Is that John Krause right there?
Face there.
Photographer extraordinaire.
I'm sure that is John Krause,
Yep.
also known as Snap. He is I believe, the content director for the Polaris Dawn program. I'm sure it's an exciting moment to be.
There you go. That's what the flight surgeon was really saying. Keep your hands and feet inside the ride until it comes to a complete stop. I think they're at a complete stop here now.
Recovery team, they'll come in. They will start to remove the footrests at the bottoms
John Krause.
seat.
Shout out to John Krause.
Give a little bit more moving room, or I should say area to for folks to get in and help our 4 Polaris Dawn astronauts get out a little bit easier.
And here's going back to our Apollo conversations. Eugene says Apollo would not launch today. No chance it would get approved. Yeah, that's a lot of people forget about that. Like, we were working fast and taking chances, and yeah, today, you know, it probably wouldn't be able to go that fast. I mean, it really isn't going that fast because of Artemis. I mean, we did it then because we were, you know, we were in the space race. But yeah, nowadays, you're probably right. I don't know if it really would get approved because it's almost too risky.
And depending on, excuse me,
But yeah, now with Artemis, like, there's so many more safety parameters in place, so much more testing that has been done.
Yeah, I mean, that goes with the seats themselves. The suits themselves are all customized to each individual astronaut and crew member. Basically, they get a customized version.
Merlin says, I want to travel next time. How much is it? Well, I believe it's about $93 million per seat.
Pardon me.
So
Able to
I think that's the cost, if I remember correctly.
their 5-point safety straps.
But yeah, figure about $93 million per seat. And then if you want to go on a mission like this, where you buy up all 4 seats, you know, just multiply that by 4. And then you can go have your own Polaris Dawn mission.
First person to come out will be Anna Menon, who is on the far right side as we are looking at it. She is in seat 4. Yeah. So Anna is now making her way with this assisted egress.
Oh, looks like we got Anna Menon going to be the first astronaut out. First one being helped out here. And you can see she's able to kind of move under her own power. I mean, yes, she's been out for 5 days.
Mission specialist Anna Menon.
But she's able, and notice, I mean, she's standing up right away.
Fellow SpaceXer.
Space station missions, usually they put them on a stretcher right away, but she's, you know, she's able to stand. She's only been for 5 days, but they are standing pretty close to her. You can see they got the hand out, like, you know, making sure she doesn't tip over. But yeah, so it's not that much of a difference. Yeah, the 6-month missions to the International Space Station, they take the astronauts out and they put them right on a stretcher and they wheel them into the recovery room. But yeah, the 5-day mission, they can just kind of stand on their own and not nearly as big of a deal.
We heard Haley Arsenault, who
John Hancock over on Facebook says, I grew up during the Apollo missions and the videos and cameras now. Pictures are amazing. Thank you so much. I know that's one of the things that I'm like super excited about. Like the only footage we have from the moon is the Apollo missions, and those cameras, like, I don't know, by today's standards, like they're awful. And so like I am super looking forward to Artemis 3 with 4K cameras and amazing imagery. Like, that'll be awesome to see that. There you go. There's Sarah Gillis. The other mission specialists, Hannah and Sarah, are SpaceX employees that got to fly on this mission. You can see she's kind of walking with a little bit of a wobble there, like a little uneasy on her feet.
Is our pilot, Kid Poteet.
Pilot Kid Poteet coming next. It seems like he's
Thumbs up.
testing his legs out to see
Kid exits.
See how stable he is. He's kind of bouncing on his legs there. Going, all right, let me see if I got this.
Coming out, standing up on their own 2 feet and walking off.
SpaceX, Dragon, this is the final call. Sign up.
Some dance moves.
There you go. He's stretching his legs, trying to get back to normal here.
To the required choreography for human spaceflight missions. You know, we have the astronaut lean back when they approach their rocket on launch day. the kid shuffle, I think, should be the next one for post egress. We heard Jared get one last call out on the loops before egressing himself.
Here we go. Last astronaut coming out. Commander Jared Isaacman.
Addressing Dragon Resilience. Commander
There he
Jared
is.
Isaacman. Our second frequent flyer in Dragon, completing his second mission in space.
For a second, I thought... For a second, I thought he was saying goodbye to his spacecraft, but it turns out he was saying goodbye to the people still in there, assisting him with his...
Here's a question. Is there anybody else
See, what
that has flown on Dragon more than once, other than Jared Isaacman?
safely back home on Earth and getting
I don't think we have anybody. Am I forgetting somebody?
this has been.
Is Jared Isaacman the only astronaut that has flown twice on Crew Dragon now? Might be the case. I don't know. That didn't hit me until just now.
After lifting off on Tuesday, September 10th at 5:23 a.m. Eastern Time from Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center, Dragon climbed to an apogee of just over 1,480 kilometers, flying
All right. Let's see. Doug Hurley. No, Bob and Doug didn't fly twice. They only flew once, just on demo 2. They didn't fly twice. So Jared can now be called Dragon Rider. Yes, for sure. I mean, he's an experienced Dragon Rider now. Let's grab a couple other comments. Oh, I already grabbed that one. Trying to scroll back to get a couple of these that I missed here before we wrap up here.
With all of that, thank you so much.
SpaceX is wrapping up their coverage. We'll wrap up here in just a second. I just wanted to grab a couple of comments here at TP Seeker. I'm not sure what this is in regards to. That's why you're the host, Tori. You're the captain of this ship. Well, I am the captain of the ship, but you guys are all a big part of it as well, hanging out with me here. There we go. SpaceX is done. The live tracking map is now, you can see it's done tracking. It's at the final landing point here in Florida, or off the coast of Florida at least. Our airplanes are gone. WB-57. Let's see, where is it? Right there. Heading back to Houston. There's our WB-57. Should probably give you back to this full view here. So there's our Dragon tracking map showing landed in Florida. Here's our WB-57 making its way back to Houston. You can see kind of the path that it took, and we can kind of infer the actual final landing position just purely based on this little circle here. So this is likely right where Dragon touchdown was, right there. Good question from Ebb at Work. Do they still track the red Tesla that they sent up a few years back? Yeah, there's a website that does that. SpaceX doesn't do this for us, but there's a website called whereisroadster.com that tracks it. I mean, the cool thing about the Tesla Roadster is that it's in a stable orbit, so the orbital parameters just don't change at this point. It's just it is where it is, and that's where it will be forever. So yeah, where is Roadster? There you go. Framrick put it out. Whereisroadster.com if you want to see where the Tesla Roadster is right now. It's out there. There was a question that I was just trying to find it. There was another question that I wanted to grab before we wrapped up, but I can't find it now. Oh, this is one that I wanted to. So I think this will be a new entertainment for billionaires. I mean, yes, but that's also kind of what we want. I mean, not so much like, yeah, we don't really want it to only be restricted to billionaires forever, but most things, especially new like they start with billionaires. You know, they start with the super wealthy, and then the idea is hopefully it becomes affordable enough to more people over time. I mean, it may that amount of time that it takes to become more affordable can be, you know, that might be a while, but yeah, that's kind of, I don't know, cars started that way, houses started that way. Like, I don't know, there's all kinds of things that started that way where really only the super wealthy could afford it. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's how historically a lot of things have been developed. The good news is, though, going back to this comment, the good news is that now billionaires are doing it. I mean, up until a few years ago, even billionaires weren't really doing this that much. So now this is becoming routine for billionaires, and so we're moving the needle forward. Let's see. Tommy says, tell us what effects all those gases and substances have. E.g., SpaceX ships produce to orbital altitudes. I'm not sure I fully understand your question. A lot of times I see that people get concerned with like the carbon footprint of rocket launches, thinking that they pollute. They're not. I mean, although rocket launches look like they have a big exhaust plume, it's not pumping out a ton of harmful gases. Like, yeah, it's not. I mean, it's also not like super clean. At least not the Falcon 9, which burns kerosene. I mean, the Starship, which is a methalox engine that burns methane, that is much cleaner than Falcon 9, which is a kerolox or kerosene engine. So, you know, that's progressing in the right direction, but it's still not a huge producer of pollution, you know, comparatively speaking. So the gases that we just looked at were hypergolics. That's what they were measuring for before the crew came out. Those are super toxic to humans. They're not really like a pollutant as far as like the planet is concerned. But yeah, not safe for humans though. Yeah, and as Framrick says, yeah, my friend Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, does have a great video about how much rockets pollute. So if that's what you're asking about, like at the pollution kind of angle, check out the YouTube video from my friend Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, about rockets and pollution. He did a great video on that maybe a year or two ago, and it really answers a lot of the pollution questions, and even goes into like actual numbers and statistics, which I can't do off the top of my head. If SpaceX dreams come true, pollutants from rockets might become significant. Well, I mean, actually, if SpaceX's dreams come true and they're burning methalox engines, which is what Starship does, which is what they're transitioning to, then actually the pollution level kind of goes down, because those methalox engines are much cleaner burning and mostly produce water vapor. All right, well, I think that's probably a good spot where we can wrap up here for the day. That was pretty exciting. We finally wrapped up. We're an hour after splashdown. We've had a successful splashdown of the Polaris pre-dawn mission. That's what we're calling it now, Polaris pre-dawn, because everything happened at 3 in the morning my time. No, the Polaris Dawn mission looks like a super successful mission. Great launch, awesome stand-up EVA, spacewalk, whatever you want to call it. I saw that in the comments a lot on Facebook. That's not a spacewalk. All they did was peek out the top, out of the sunroof. Anyway, yeah, you gotta crawl before you walk. You gotta walk before you run. What's the saying? I don't know what the saying is, but you gotta start somewhere. That's what we're saying. So I hope to see more. Now that they have the EVA suit, I hope to see more missions that use the EVA suit, because that'll be really cool. That's one thing, like, now that they developed all this, I'm kind of like, all right, what's next? Like, I know there's a Polaris Dawn 2 mission planned and a Polaris Dawn 3 mission planned, and I'm kind of like, I don't know, they have these new EVA suits. I'm like, I want to see these in action. Like, what's next? What are we going to do? Show me what's next on those. I hope to see those more often. Maybe we'll get even more missions. Now that we've demonstrated with Polaris Dawn, this is the thing about test missions and demonstration missions, is now that Polaris Dawn has demonstrated an EVA, the SpaceX can do the EVA, and the EVA suits work, and the EVA worked, and all that kind of stuff. Now, mission planners can start to go, oh, that's, you know what? Maybe we could do this since that works. So, yeah, that's what we hope in the future. So, yeah, successful mission there. And we also got a ton of science experiments. We got that really cool violin video from Sarah Gillis. And then a beautiful early morning splashdown. Although, as much as I hated doing this at 3 o'clock in the morning because I really don't like this time of day, it was really cool imagery with the moon and the lights in the water and being able to see the windows of the Crew Dragon. It was really cool imagery, which I hate admitting because I did not want to get up to do this at 3 o'clock in the morning. But it was really cool looking, so we'll take that. So, all right, well, I'm going to go back to bed, and we'll see. I don't know what the next thing is that we'll see you for live, but I'm sure we'll see you for something live at some point. So consider joining our Discord and chatting up with like-minded space folks at overlookhorizon.com/Discord. And, do all the social media things. If you're here, click the like button on the video. It really does help me out. Consider subscribing. Follow me on other platforms, on the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagrams, whatever. All the stuff that all of us YouTube people say. I don't have to explain it all. You guys know how this all works. But anyways, it does help. So consider doing all that stuff. All right. I'm tired. You could probably tell. I'm going back to bed. That's enough for me. But thanks everybody for hanging out and joining us here today. My name's Tori. This is Overlook Horizon. I will see you on the next video. Goodbye, everybody. Enjoy the day. See ya.